G'day, hi, and welcome. All right, first. Bazoo, can you keep it down? I'm trying to make a video. You're not even paying attention. What's up? What's up? You want to make the video? No? Old guy. He's pretty old, him. All right, so I got my Nikon D100 here, and I just did a 20-year video in which I've had this thing for 20 years. I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with this camera overall for such a long time. But I wanted to, I've been looking at anything. I wanted to, do a video that, because the way I'm looking at cameras now is totally different the way I looked at cameras 20 years ago. Like I'm talking your first real, good camera. And what separates, I think, the pros, just as an observation, what separates the pros from the novices. And I'm not saying I'm a pro, but, I've done weddings, I've done car shows, and Canada Days, and, Santa Claus parades, and, you name it, Remembrance Day stuff. I done a lot, did a little bit of wildlife photography, some models, all that stuff. And I learned stuff. So when I bought this camera back in the day, and I'm not going to get into what cameras, because people say, if you use any camera as an example, people say, well, they'll just focus in on the camera. And I don't want you to focus in on what cameras. So we'll just say whatever the top whiz-bang cameras are out there. That's what people look at. That's what they want. They want the top dog. They always want the top dog. So they're going to either upgrade to their first big camera, or they just have a budget right away, and their very first digital camera is going to be something, pretty good. So they look at the budget they have, they look at the cameras within that range, right? And they round to the nearest, say, 10 or 15 bucks of the very top of their budget of what cameras are going to fall into that. So let's say they've got a pretty good budget. The budget doesn't matter because people will focus on the money. I don't want you to focus on the money, I want to focus on what you're going to do with your money. So what happens is they tend to spend maybe 80–90% of their budget on the camera. And what separates the pros from the novice is a pro probably wouldn't do that. He's probably going to take half the budget and either put it on a really good lens, or he's going to take, say, 3/4 of the budget and put it on like really good lens system setups, and then the rest on the camera, and upgrade the camera later. Because in hindsight, the lenses will always probably be more important than the camera. The better the lens is, your camera's only as good as the lens is the glass you put on it, right? And a lot of people don't realize that in the beginning. So I went through a few lenses, but I didn't go ridiculous. When I got this lens, when I realized how useful this 18 to 70 millimeter lens was for just all over, it allowed me to get rid of 4 other lenses, right? But I understood what I was trading off. So my 50 millimeter lens took a better photo at 50 millimeters than this did, but it was a fixed focal length, right? So I said, I wanted some good prime lenses, but I needed a really useful all-around lens. So that's what I went with. And I only have 2 lenses for this camera, and it covers between 18 millimeters and 300 millimeters and a macro feature. So pretty much anything you could think of photography-wise, that's a lot of range there. When I get my next camera, I'm looking at the lenses first. So you see the first big whiz-bang camera, and you look and you see what lenses they have available. I would always look at the lenses for the cameras first. With Nikon and Canon and stuff like that, you really can't beat the lenses. And not just their lenses, but the aftermarket lens. There's a gazillion lenses you could put on just this camera. But the newer cameras, these crop sensor cameras, they're not that new, but they're new enough that there's still not a lot of lenses, so your lens ranges might be a little bit more skimpy. And therefore, if you buy a really expensive camera, like some of the really, really expensive medium format cameras only have 4 or 5 lenses for the camera. And I'm like, yeah, it's probably enough to do everything you want, but you can't customize. You can't say this lens would be perfect for this all around, and these other 3 lenses cover everything else, right? So I would put my budget in a different kind of manner, where I would look at the lenses first for the camera you want to buy, and then if there's enough money to get those lenses and then the camera, then you're laughing. But if you put all your money on the whiz-bang camera and then buy the cheap $300 lens, you're not going to get that expensive camera. You're just getting, you know, the max that $300 lens can put out. That's all you're going to get. So I would definitely recommend that you put more focus on the lenses. You know, with your budget, you know, maybe you're going to buy 2 lenses, maybe you're going to buy 3 lenses. I would make sure, because what people do is, I'll buy the really good camera right now. And this is exactly what you're going to hear 99% of people. I'm going to buy the really good camera right now, and I'll buy a cheap lens, and I'll live with that for a little while, and then I'll buy this better lens later and other better lens later. And you know what happens? They spend years with that cheap lens. Where if they would have got a little bit less camera and a better lens, they're probably going to be more happy long term, saying, okay, I got a little bit less camera, but man, the lens on this thing just gives me the best photos ever, right? So that's just the advice I had. Is it the best advice? I don't know. Again, like everything, anybody on the internet, take it with a grain of salt, but it's something to consider. So if you're going to be buying a camera, think about the lenses that you're going to be putting on it first. You know, what kind of photography you're going to do, stuff like that. Do your research there, because you'll find that some of the whiz-bang lenses really are a waste of money. It is hard to find a good zoom lens. It really is. That gives you a good compromise and a lot of range. And, you know, something you can live with shots. Because here's what will happen when you buy the cheap lenses. You'll go take a wedding photos for a friend or something like that, and you'll do okay, but you'll look at it and you'll see how, you know, you're going to be like, geez, I wish I had a better lens for that, you know? And that's what you don't want. You know, you don't want to, you need not want is what you want. That where I got a great lens, maybe it's not exactly does everything, but where it shines, it really shines, and it brings out the best out of this camera. And that's the way I would look at it. So you guys, you know, tell me what you guys think. Yeah, that should be longer. I think I did. So look at your lenses. That, you know, for whatever cameras you're looking at, look at what lenses are available. The proprietary lenses, you know, like look at your zooms, look at your whatever. And I'll talk about zooms in maybe the next video here.